appears alive and moving and tingly and sparkly. That's what it's like in Costa Rica after a couple of days. Costa Rica is so beautiful, so teeming with life and movement and noise and energy and beauty. Unbelievable beauty. It was amazing. It was full of beautiful beaches.
I can see your face. I hear
Amazing wildlife. Learning to fly my drone, which took a while. I'm still learning. I did have my first crash a few days in, and I had a good time making a lot of different films and photographs. And there was the animals. I saw monkeys, which were amazing, including a baby jumping onto its mother's back and then trotting away, holding on to everything by their tails, little brown faces. And I saw huge iridescent butterflies. And then the bird population. I mean, I've never been that much into birds, but if you're into birds, you have to go to southern Costa Rica because I saw dozens of scarlet macaws, and they were flying in pairs, and they're so beautiful. You know, those ones with the long red feathers, and they have some blue and green as well. It was really good to get away, especially since it's been such a hard year for everybody. And even though a couple of days before I left, I got some really difficult news, and it kind of put a sad slant on my mood during this trip. It was okay, and it was still good to get away, and it was great to be in nature and in all that beauty.
it's alive, every head is now go home.
Speaking of houses, you should have seen where I stayed. Knowing that it was just like 10 days before my trip began and I was just one person, I wrote to a bunch of the owners of these beautiful houses in Costa Rica and said, look, you don't have any bookings. This is a last minute thing and I'm only one person. Would you consider giving me... Oh, what? Would you consider giving me a much lower rate for the 2 or 3 nights that I want to be there? And almost all of them said yes, which was awesome. So I picked a couple. One of them is in an area called Ojo Chal, and it was like paradise. It was on a hill in between a mountain and the ocean with a view to both. And it was just heavenly. It had its own private pool, which means I had my own private pool. It was perfect for sunsets. It was just really beautiful and very comfortable too. I was only there for 2 nights. They were very gracious. Usually they have a 3-night minimum. And so when I was there one day, I went to a local waterfall. I mean, it seemed really well known. It was in all the websites I looked into, and it wasn't far from where I was staying. So I went kind of early in the morning. I'd say I got there by about 9 a.m. And I couldn't believe it. It was down this country road and I was all by myself in the jungle with this waterfall. It was an easy trek in there and it was just heavenly. I couldn't believe that this thing was made by nature. It was like, you know, at an amusement park or a water slide park where there's something so perfectly beautiful that you think, you know, this is human made. It could never happen in nature. Well, this did happen in nature, and it was just so perfect.
That looks like a really good spot, but it looks pretty slippery to get down there though. I'm so glad I made this little trek.
Even in March, there was enough water that it was quite a rush, and I had it all to myself, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, if there had been people swarming all over the place, it would have been a completely different experience.
I can see your face on the wall.
I got so caught up in the beauty of this place that I left my video camera on for quite a while, so I hope the battery lasts. It's so freaking beautiful.
And I got so touched by the beauty of the place. Once I was packing up to leave, the people arrived. So I was super lucky to have it all to myself, and that was really one of the highlights of the trip. It was so beautiful. Although, near the airport, the last night that I spent in Costa Rica, I had an early flight the next day, so I stayed about 30 minutes away in a little beach resort town called Playa Hermosa, and oh my God, it was heavenly beautiful. I mean, definitely much more of a resort kind of area with a lot of Americans and tourists and that kind of atmosphere, but it's because it's so beautiful and really easy to get to from the airport. And wouldn't you know, that's where I saw the monkeys. After all that time in the jungle, they were hiding from me. I could hear them, but I didn't see them until I was in that resort town of Playa Hermosa. I had heard them howling, and so I walked in that direction, and I walked and walked. It was kind of a residential neighborhood with a lot of big trees around, but I didn't see any monkeys. So, I thought that was my fate, not to see monkeys on this trip. Sad. But on the way back, I walked under a mango tree and a mango hit the ground next to me. So I was very still and I started looking up and around, and there were 4 howler monkeys. They're smaller than I thought, and they're perfectly brown with these cute little faces and these tails that wrap around branches. And I guess they like mangoes because they were going to town. And then some other guy walked up and he said, "Look, there's a baby." And there was just a cute little baby monkey. It was only this big, and it was just waiting for its mother. I guess its mother was eating a mango or something. And then as we watched, the monkey baby climbed on the back of the monkey mama. The monkeys all grabbed this ladder thing with their tails, and the baby was on the mama's back, and they walked away, crawled away, whatever monkeys do, they did it. And it was so beautiful. And I was so happy to finally see the monkeys. There were parrots and other birds just flying around all over Costa Rica. It was amazing and beautiful, and I hope it always stays that way. So if you get a chance, go to Costa Rica.
I can see your face on the wall. I hear your voice in the call. I feel the weight of it all.
So accustomed to just being by myself anyway that it just feels natural, normal to me to be traveling on my own. This is that roughest part of the road. Maybe not the roughest, but scariest. So I've got to get up to where that car is. I think I'm gonna put the phone down for a sec. Now, I'm not sure if I'm on private property or if this is still the road.
You laugh when I call on the phone. Say it's time that I try to move on. It's a life that we had is now gone.
I have found no such thing. Oh, just exploring. It's so beautiful. Let's hope I don't run out of gas somewhere along the way, because there's nothing in between here and there. Cute. Anyway, let's cross this damn thing. Yes, I am using sunscreen. 70 SPF. And despite using this every day, multiple times a day, I still get brown as a nut, so it's just the way it is, I guess.
I can see